So I've uploaded 2 videos in the past week covering to a limited extent Metal Gear Solid 5. However, this video by Jim Sterling was brought to my attention. Some of you that have already seen it are going to insist to me that Jim actually has an argument here, but no, he actually doesn't. And let's be clear that I am not even a fan of this franchise, but there is a key principle that is important to me and the content that I upload to this channel that's clearly been violated. So let's take a look and see if you can spot the problem.
And don't even give me that First Amendment nonsense. You have every right to say it, and I have every right to call you a fucking asshole and try to find your address and put it out there.
Whoops, my bad. No idea how that got in here. The video I'm actually looking for is the one with a fat guy and a moral high horse explaining to me that he knows better than Kojima production artists on how to create a character for their franchise.
So let's cut to the fucking chase. Quiet's visual design is absolutely bloody shit in Metal Gear Solid 5, and the reasoning for it is even shitter. When it was first revealed, the world at large was like, really? She's a sniper and she's gonna be parading around in the nuddy with her tits flopping out, yeah?
So here's a good place to stop and establish one key factor in this. What does it even matter that she's wearing a bikini? Snake wearing full body armor and having a limited sprint while in the middle of fucking Afghanistan isn't exactly one of the most realistic aspects to this game. Neither is the team of zombie-like enemies, or the floating dude with psychic powers, or the guy that gets stronger after being shot and burns like a fucking comic book villain, or all the other futuristic technology that doesn't exist. It's fictional. Hey, there's a word we can start with. Fiction. But let's just continue.
And Hideo Kojima was all, once you recognise the secret reason for her exposure, you will feel ashamed of your words and deeds. So now, those of us who've played the game know the secret reason, and I have to tell you, I ain't feeling too ashamed. Not for myself, anyway. Basically, she breathes through her skin. That's the secret twist. For reasons we can only describe as Metal Gear logic, Quiet breathes through her skin, and that's why she's naked all the time.
And here is the first bald-faced lie of this video. I could refer to the fact that wearing a bikini isn't the same as being naked, or how frustratingly common this fucking Puritan misconception is, but I'll settle for the outfit in question being completely optional, as demonstrated in this video.
Now, I might buy this excuse if we regular humans needed 1,000 mouths and noses all over our bodies with which to breathe, but we don't. Or if she wasn't wearing torn tights, or if she was like Mystique from the X-Men movies who is proper naked but looks inhuman enough to where it's not basic titillation, or if she'd shaved her damn head. But no, it's bollocks. The reason is bollocks, and Kojima pretending she's not the way she is just to be gawked at is bollocks too. The game's camera gawks at her all the time, perving at her with every scene, and when you're on the helicopter with her, she's constantly flashing ass and showcasing her tits for you. Ain't none of that because she needs to breathe through her skin.
This is the second lie of the video, or should I say lying by omission. Is she doing this to please the white male gamer Jim? Is that the only reason she's striking a pose in front of Snake? Oh wait, what's this that easily found online and is readily available that any person with the slightest amount of intellectual honesty would have mentioned? Quiet is Snake's love interest. She's attracted to the protagonist, you know, the person sitting in the chopper with her. Maybe, just maybe, the reason the character acts in the way that she does is not an underhanded attempt by Hideo Kojima to insert mindless fan service into the game, but rather a mute love interest showing off her natural attributes to another character she's attracted to. Nah, that all sounds just totally plausible. Doesn't fit the narrative of sexism in video games, so let's just leave that all out.
And you know what? If Kojima had just owned up to it, I'd have been so much cooler with the situation if he'd have just said the secret reason for her exposure is that I just wanted to get a gigantic fucking hard-on with my big Kojima cock. I'd have had so much more respect for it. If only he didn't use a flimsy narrative reason he invented himself as a pretentious excuse to get her in the nude.
So this is an addendum to the original video that, fortunately for myself, I'm putting in at the last minute. So here's the segment in his video where he shows Quiet in the chopper striking a pose. What he doesn't tell you is the fact that you have to go through 2 different steps just to see her striking this pose. You have to put away your E-Droid and then hit F to look at her in the chopper. In my version, she's not doing anything. See how she's just sitting there looking at the pilot and all the stuff on the dash? Well, that's because I haven't done the romance with her yet. I just unlocked her character. Jim, on the other hand, must have been far into the game, because that's the only way where she starts doing that, is you've actually done the romance section with her. You have her at near maximum affection. He never points that out, because this is a narrative. If he was actually genuine in his criticism of this character, he would have pointed any of this out, and you would have gotten away with it completely, had I not played the game and figured it out. Do you think his viewers know this? Do you think the average person that hasn't played up until this point for this brand new game, do you think they know this or bother to check? It's a fucking omission that shows this entire argument is disingenuous. It's one of the many lies he has told in this video.
In that regard, I have a lot more respect for games like Onechambra that at least wear their perviness on their sleeve. They own it. They know people are there to pop boners over girls in bikinis while they fight zombies, and they don't hide away from it. I can respect that over all of these games that toss out sexy shit while trying to pretend there's some higher, narratively noble reason for it. It's trying to have your cake and eat it too, looking for a cheeky wank while telling yourself it's more than just a cheeky wank.
I'm about to do some editing because these jokes take too long.
It's not nudity on its own that cheeses my onions, it's the dishonest, cowardly way it's being delivered not just in MGS5, but a range of games clamouring for a mature status. From the sex scenes in BioWare RPGs that amount to little more than prizes for bribery minigames.
Uh-oh, that's a very counterproductive game to drop. You just made a big mistake in your argument, but why stop now? Keep going, Jim.
I find it especially sad they did this with Quiet though, because she's a fucking awesome, badass character when the game allows her to be. The best backup buddy character by far, and one of the most narratively interesting elements to a game that, by MGS standards, really did lack in the writing department. But the tragedy of her backstory is undermined by the skeevy camera shots. The sheer awesomeness of her abilities and battle capability is upstaged by her frankly ludicrous appearance, and the fact you can unlock later costumes for her that actually put her in some damn clothes only serve to highlight what an abject failure her default design is. Later in the game, you can unlock a number of actual threads, including an XOF uniform that makes her look like what she actually is, a hardened soldier, a killer sniper, and someone with whom not to fuck.
Whoops! That's the point I started with, and completely undermines a portion of your dumb, fucking fallacious argument. But sorry I interrupted. Keep going.
Plus, her clothed outfits reveal just the right amount of skin to continue this photosynthesis narrative. Because any amount of skin would do, because we only breathe through 3 small holes in our faces anyway, and if the end gets a leaf snuggie, then the bikini isn't needed. Instead, we get a cartoon version of wobbly-boobed sexiness. Oh, and you have to unlock the silver and gold versions of Quiet first, because we may as well literally turn her into a walking trophy.
An Anita Sarkeesian reference. Keep going, Jim. Don't stop, because I don't even need to comment.
What Kojima promised would be the antithesis to the women characters in the past who are excessively exposed is instead the embodiment of women characters in the past who are excessively exposed. Even worse than that, it's an intellectual Trojan horse pretending it's not just wank fodder when it is undoubtedly wank fodder. Metal Gear Solid is an inherently silly series. I get that, it's a big part of what I love about it, but it also knows, usually, when to take things seriously, which is another thing I love.
He says, while fighting zombies created by a global conspiracy led by Zombie Zero and a fucking dude that floats, without a shred of irony. Jim, I knew you were disingenuous, but now you're just being obnoxiously stupid.
With Quiet, the priority is clear, and that priority is not to make her an interesting character. If it was, then she'd have been treated like the boss. Besides which, if you explain away everything with "it's a Metal Gear game, it's always silly and you're stupid if you criticize it," then you ultimately do Hideo Kojima himself a disservice as a writer. I like to think I've a bit more respect for him than to simply shrug at everything he does and say, that's just what he does. I say that about Michael Bay. because I don't respect Michael Bay. Yeah, MGS can be stupidly, gloriously dumb, but it's capable of being provocative and thoughtful too, something the stupidity often enhances through its contrast of mood. With Quiet, MGS5 misfired, and it would be disrespectful to the game to pretend it's incapable of misfiring. Fact is, Kojima can do better. Kojima has done better, and to not demand better is to devalue his work overall.
Welcome back to a few minutes ago, where you were waist deep in narrative. The problem is, Jim, Hideo Kojima isn't the fucking character artist. He didn't draft and finalize this character. This game is his vision, sure, but he didn't create this character. This artist at Kojima Productions did, and from the sound of it, you know better than this professional on how to create a character for Metal Gear Solid 5. So let's pretend for a moment that you're you, and I do PR for Kojima Productions. My comment would be, we're Kojima Productions, and you're the cunt with the microphone. Jim, you are some fat fuck on YouTube chastising the creative capacity of a professional artist. You know that skill set you utterly lack? And what is your criticism?
Oh man, she said I knew it and I don't like it.
Wow, riveting stuff. Super fucking persuasive.
You could argue that looks don't make the character, but imagine if Escape from New York had Kurt Russell wearing a clown nose the whole time, or if everyone in Memoirs of a Geisha had gigantic massive hands. Visual design is an important part of any character, and getting it wrong can be a real fuck up. There's a reason we get Best Costume Awards for other visual media. Hell, with enough nerds that get pissy over a person of colour being in the Fantastic Four, I don't want to hear it from nerds saying a character's appearance isn't important.
Another fucking reference to a totally unrelated topic, following the narrative exactly as you would imagine any fucking ideologue. You know, Jim, isn't your shtick about being a character that is ironically authoritarian and narcissistic? Incorporating those things into your argument isn't helping it. It only makes you look like a gigantic cunt that thinks he knows a franchise better than its creator and a character better than the artist that created it. By the way, I would comment on the fact that he's playing a female character in the game, a staff member from the base, and does that not pacify his identity politics fucking autism? But whatever, let's just continue.
And Quiet is a perfect example of how self-defeating the game's story is. Kojima had on his hands a potential new icon in MGS series history, a new boss, but he let his testes rule the design and he gave us an object to drool over first and a complicated individual second. Worse than that, he pretended otherwise. The only difference between this and Senran Kagura is at least Senran Kagura has the spine to admit what it is.
And now's a good time to trap you in your own words. Remember your comparison to BioWare titles? Well, sit down for this one, guys. Quiet is an optional companion. Man, I bet Jim was totally unaware of that and is not cynically creating a narrative to shit on Metal Gear Solid 5 using identity politics. Quiet can be killed the first time you meet her. So let's recap. The character is optional. The outfit is optional. Taking her with you is optional. Looking at her in the chopper where you control the fucking camera is optional, as you demonstrate in your own video. I'm sorry, there are people defending this argument. There are people saying to Hideo Kojima that they can't stop their evil male gaze from eye-raping this poor fictional character. Please, if you think I'm wrong, and Quiet, the fictional character, has been ever so mistreated, you let me know so I can escort you to the ball pit. I had no idea gaming had so many special snowflakes that required mommy to tell them how naughty it is to look at the woman in the bikini. I can go as far in defending Quiet as defending the outfit itself and being unique compared to every other character in the game, but forget it. Fuck creative diversity in gaming. What we need is clothing hegemony. We need to protect Quiet from being dishonored, so someone please create a mod for an armored burqa.
But I know some people swallow it hook, line and sinker, that because there's a narrative reason for it, that's good enough, even if it's a limp reason that's been invented from whole cloth. So maybe on the next Jimquisition, I'll start campaigning hardcore for vile monster Donald Trump's presidency, and it'll be okay. You know why? Because I breathe through my skin. So vote for Donald Trump. Because I breathe through my skin.
Donald Trump, the 2016 election cycle, and the American presidency isn't fictional, Jim, you fucking mental defective. He goes on with this same point in conflating reality with fiction. So we're done here. We're fucking done.
Just grow up and fuck off.
There's a reason I'm not subscribed to this idiotic fucking cunt. And if you are, well, that says quite a bit about you, doesn't it?